Hi, I'm Diane, your host of Epic Conversations, and we have a special guest today, Chatoyre Guider. And I met Chatoyre at Charis Bible College, well, actually Andrew Womack Ministries. And Chatoyre has a powerful testimony of how he went from homeless to a business entrepreneur. So we are going to hear about that. Chatoyre also met his wife at Charis Bible College, and now he is the promotional editor for an international ministry, Andrew Womack Ministries, and he has his own video production company, which we'll upload that on the notes. So thank you for joining us, and Chatoyre, I am so happy that you could be here today.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming, and thank you for being willing to share your testimony.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to hear how and what prompted you to come to Charis Bible College and all the events that went on to get you there.
Yeah, man, it's a long journey.
I know.
Basically, so from the start, I grew up with my mom. Pretty much raised me. My dad was always around in my life, but I lived with my mom most of my life, and she's a very ambitious woman with a lot of big goals. And she's always, when I was growing up, she had her own coffee shop, different things like that.
Oh.
And so growing up, we were always told we had, like, you be ambitious, have a goal, have big goals, basically.
Big goals, okay.
And
that's
so
good.
for me, that sounded like, okay, well, I need to figure out what I need to do. So I thought, well, my family wants me to be something professional, something that has a title. So lawyer, that was the first thing that came to mind.
Lawyer sounds good.
Lawyer sounds really good.
Yeah.
It sounds like sounds super professional. You can't say anything bad about someone being a lawyer.
That's right.
So my mom was actually really into politics and things like that, and so she would take me to different court. She sat in on court cases basically, and so I had the opportunity to sit in on court cases with her as I grew up. So I was like, oh yeah, I could be a lawyer. It sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, I was very creative, but when you're growing up where I'm from, creativity doesn't create money. It doesn't create income. So law school was a better option. And I would say I was brighter as a kid than I am now.
Okay.
So I had really good grades and everything. So when I got accepted to college at Oral Roberts University.
Very good school, yeah.
Yeah, so I got on a very good scholarship. And so upon getting there, I figured, oh, hey, I'm going to continue on this journey to becoming a lawyer. And the first 3 months in, it was great. My grades were amazing. But in November of that year, my grandfather passed away.
Okay, were you close to him?
I was incredibly close to my grandfather. He was like the pinnacle of being a man to me. Like, my grandmother never worked a day in her life. They had 6 kids. My grandmother never worked a day in her life. He would work whenever they were low on money or income. He'd work a third job. He had always had 2 jobs, but he'd work a third job. So to me, this was like the pinnacle of what it meant to be a man. And then he always took time to talk to his grandkids or listen to what's going on. And so it's like he set the time for us.
That's nice.
So losing him was kind of it was really painful, basically. And another thing is, like my mom, he was one of those really ambitious people who tells you to set goals.
Okay.
So upon losing him, I kind of just lost all ambition and goals to continue to pursue college or anything like that. And honestly, it was the first time that I really had to sit back and think, what do I want to do?
That is a good question. What do you want to do?
And unfortunately, during those days, I had no idea. So I started failing school, and I stopped going to class. I honestly would sleep through the day. It would be a miracle for me to go to one class in that day.
Wow, okay.
And eventually that led to me being put on academic probation. And I was given an opportunity to continue on and continue with school, but honestly, I had no drive to continue. Honestly, I had no, it was like I didn't want to go to law school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just left. I just dropped out. And, I was able to get an associate, but beyond that, it was just like nothing else. And so I left, and I got my own apartment. I was living in Tulsa still, and
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tulsa,
right?
Oklahoma,
Okay.
yes. And I just couldn't afford to pay for it, honestly. So eventually I had to leave there, and I kind of just started walking around the streets for a little bit. I still had a cell phone, luckily. So my mom called and was like, and I was kind of being very secretive with her. It was like what was going on. Like, she knew I left school, but she didn't know the whole housing situation. And she just called and said, "Hey, well, since you're out of school, why don't you come out to Karis?" Because she was currently in Karis at the time. Because she had always said, "Well, when you leave for college, I'm the youngest. When you leave for college, I'm gonna literally turn your room to a daycare, and I'm gonna move to Karis and go. I'm gonna move to Colorado and go to Karis." And I was like, "Okay, you do what you want." She turned my room to a daycare, and she moved out to Karis. Went to Karis.
She did what she said.
She said, and that's, like I said, ambitious lady. So she told me to come out just to visit. And it was the summertime, and I was like, "Well, I mean, yeah, sure, I'll come visit. I have nowhere else to be." So I came out to visit, and then she said, "Well, you can get a job out here." And I eventually told her what the situation was. She said, "Well, you can get a job out here, and maybe move back to Chicago or go to Karis, pick one." I had no idea I was going to Karis, nor any want to go to Karis. Honestly, my goal was to work a decent job in Colorado for a little bit, and then move back to Chicago, where maybe I'll figure it out. But I ended up going to one of the conferences with my mom. She invited me out. I believe it was a Summer Family Conference.
Oh, Summer Family Bible Conference.
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe that's the one. And Barry Bennett was speaking,
Oh.
and this is also my first introduction to Karis. Like, my mom listened to Andrew my entire life, but I didn't listen to Andrew, so I had no idea. I was like, I don't know who this man is. But Barry Bennett was like the first, like, listening to him speak, and I could hear like God saying, "Hey, you hear that, right?" I'm like, no, I don't hear it now. He's like, "No, you hear it. You're going to Karis." I'm like, yes, Lord.
Oh, so you knew the Lord.
I knew the Lord. I just didn't listen much.
Oh, okay.
I was like I was saying, my grandfather was a very ambitious man, but he was also a man who did a lot of things in his own strength. Yeah, there you go. So that's how I figured a man's supposed to be. It's like, you do everything. Yeah, you gotta get everything done like this.
Yeah.
So that's how I assumed life was supposed to be. But honestly, listening to God listening to God to go to Karis was like the first steps towards everything else in life for me. My first year went on. I met a lot of awesome people my age who were like really into like a burning passion for God, and it's just like, man, I've never met anyone. Like, I went to ORU was great, and like, but it was still a regular college. Like, you go here for an education no matter what. But Karis is like, you come here with the idea that you're gonna get to know God more and get to like live in His love. And I was like, man, this is different.
And you said people your age. How old are you?
So I'm 25.
Okay, so when
I came to Karis, I was 19.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was different.
That's good. Yeah. 19. I'm going to pursue God. All right, let's hear.
I thought it was really good, and I met a lot of people, and I've made so many friends that would just sit down and pray with me, or have a Bible study at random, like just sporadic things where we'll be walking downtown Colorado Springs, and one of them would just go up and pray for someone. It's like, I've never seen this outside of my family, because that's why my mom is, but I've never seen anybody my age going out there and just doing that.
That's good.
So that was like, that's what really set the tone for first year. Kind of really set the tone for the rest of my transition. And so in that process, I felt God saying like, "Hey, you're gonna find out what I want from you here." And I'm like, "Oh," and it's like, that's great. That's where I want to be. That's the only thing that's really that I'm lacking at this point.
So it sounds like Karis opened up your heart and ears to hear from God.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Good.
So so during my first year, my mom was really good friends with Tim Swartz, who was the director of the media school, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
And he was talking to my mom, and I walked up, and he was like, "Hey, I think you're going to go to media school. I was like, hi, I don't know you. but it was really good. And it was like, and I was like, okay, I don't know what that means. But during my second year, I just felt we had the third year experience and went to media school just to see how it was like. And I just felt like what they say your baby was it your baby?
Oh, you make your baby leap.
Like, your baby leap. I felt that feeling where it's like, oh man, this is it. I could feel like all the adrenaline, just like this is it. This is where I'm gonna be.
Oh wow.
So yeah, that's how I ended up going to media school, and the education there was just amazing. Like like a lot of the stuff was brand new to me. Some of it wasn't, but a lot of it was just like eye opening. Like this is gonna lead me somewhere in life. I know it. I don't know where yet, but I know it's gonna lead me somewhere. So yeah, and then
And when did you meet your wife?
I met my wife in first year.
Huh?
I met my wife. We were all just really good friends in the same friend group, and I'm a very patient person when it comes to life. So I didn't really pursue a relationship at first. I wanted to just be friends and just see if maybe she doesn't like me. I don't want to push anything on anyone. So very ambitious, and what's the name? About second years when I finally asked her out. I did it very strangely. I actually made it into a video.
Oh, you did? Tell us about that.
I did a little animated video, and I sent it to her through Facebook Messenger while she was sitting next to me. I was like, oh, hey, look, you got a message there. And the worst part of it was she didn't get it.
Oh no!
So we have 4 hours in a day at Karis. So I sent it in the first hour. So it wasn't until the fourth hour of the day that she finally figured out what it meant. And I was like, by that point, I was just like drained. I'm like, okay, she doesn't like me. I've made a terrible mistake. But it was really it was really good. So
that's good. And when did you get married then?
And we got married 2019.
So was this after your third year, second year?
After my third year.
After your third year.
Yeah.
So you did go to the third year.
I did go to third year media school, and it was great.
And then, before we finish your story, you somehow ended up at Andrew Womack Ministries and the promotional editor here.
Yeah,
so how did that happen?
So I applied a few times to this position, and honestly, it was just, I know for sure I was not ready for it the first few times I applied for it. But eventually, I applied while I was working at Goodwill, and I just kind of knew it was like this time. I was like, oh, I'm getting this job. I had already kind of told my managers there. I was like, I think I'm gonna get this job at Karis, and
that's good.
And Andrew Womack Ministries, and so I ended up getting an interview, and I believe it went really well. I mean, I had the job.
You got the job, so it had to go.
So it had to go really well, and
then you started your own business too.
And then I started my own business. I actually started. So I primarily my skill set and what I like to do is shoot video myself personally, and I like working with restaurants, hotels, real estate work, things like that. Which because I love nice homes. I love beautiful homes, food, things like that. My wife really is about the same. So these are things we like to just record and help people with. So that's where my business primarily is. But we are full service. Anything
to help the kingdom too.
Anything to help the kingdom too.
Well, thank you so much, Chatoyre. This was awesome.
Well, thank you.
I mean, you have gone to not listening to God, doing your own thing, and then you started to hear from God. And when you followed His leading, it opened up your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
You've pursued what was really God placed in there. People speaking into your life. You're going to media school. Media school? I thought I was going to be a lawyer. I mean, that is just powerful. And look what the Lord has done when we praise God. And you met a wonderful wife too.
Met a wonderful wife.
Yeah, that godly. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for joining us. I mean, Chatoyre's testimony, some of it can be yours too. You can hear from God and change the course of your life by obeying His direction. Well, thank you for joining us. Please subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend. In the meantime, have an epic day in the Lord.